Yeah.
Okay, I did not know what any of those words meant.
But it sounds good. All I know is that sometimes when I drink wine, I go like this. And I say, very fruit forward.
Alrighty, so this is going to be This Round on Me, episode 3. Today we have Caleb, aka MajiinBae, driving all the way from the faraway land of Sacramento. And as usual, we have France and my co-host Oliver. I'm Yichin. Let's go ahead and get started. We also have our guest today. Our second guest today is Justin, who's going to be our bartender. Instead of whiskey, we're going to be drinking mixed drinks today. So,
So I don't like whiskey very much.
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah. Also because I also like mixed drinks, so this is good for me. Sorry, guys.
No, you're good. You're good. It's fine. It's still alcohol.
Yeah.
Do we just start?
Yeah. You can go ahead and start.
What are we drinking?
So it's a lemon drop martini. So we do about 2 ounces of vodka, about half an ounce of triple sec, half ounce of simple syrup, and then an ounce of lemon juice. I don't like it too sweet, so I put the sugar rim on it, just to kind of give it that flavor, but you get the sourness.
I don't even like martinis. That's really good.
Yes,
So I guess our first topic. Let's talk about Pro Tour Lille.
Yeah, so that happened. What specifically would you like to know about it?
How do you do? I saw you. Somebody else posted that they were 94th, and I saw you on the same page.
Okay, yeah, about there. Yeah, so spoiler alert, I bubbled top 64 on tiebreakers.
Yeah.
Right? So I wasn't the bubble boy, but I was the same record. I was 8 and 6, I think. And I believe some 8 and 6 has gotten top 64. I knew I wasn't gonna be one of them, but would have liked to have been one of them. Pro Tour was weird. So leading up to it, I was incredibly burnt out on just card games in general. We came off a really bad season of Runeterra. Where we had to deal with the Kaisa menace. It was just rough. Trying to still make content when there was only one deck was really difficult. And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna focus on the Flesh and Blood Pro Tour and just kind of take a season off of Runeterra. But the problem is I hated the LOR meta so much, and then I went and started practicing Flesh and Blood, and I hated the Flesh and Blood meta just as much. It was just aggro linear decks just punching each other, which is not my thing at all. So I just decided, fuck it. Can I do that? Can I say that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I just decided, fuck it. I'm just not going to practice either. And I just showed up to France. So I just grabbed a couple of decks, showed up to France. I played 2 games. 2 games of Constructed. I played in the pre-release of Draft. And that was it. And I just showed up. And then, I ended up on Viscerai. I really wanted to play Dash. We found the truth, dude. Pounder Dash with Talishar is unbeatable. Yeah. And then we found out that people can just block you. And you just lose. Because we tried it once. We're okay, we're playing Viscerai and Briar. What if we just block? And the 2 games we played it, we just won as Dash. We won opponents, we still had a bunch of life, some cards left. We're alright, sick. We don't have to worry about getting fatigued. You just do too much damage with the maximum impact or whatever, maximum velocity. Yeah. And then we went to go do a draft with some other people, Brody Spurlock, Mansant, all them. Nice. And I was oh yeah, I'm thinking about doing Dash. And I think Brody was oh yeah, what do you do when your opponent boards in all their 3 blocks? And I was what? And he's yeah, when you play against Viscerai, what happens when they just board out their 2 blocks and board in all their 3 blocks? And I was I don't know. And he's oh, because we know. He's you don't win. And I was this can't be true. So we do a practice draft, which I don't even remember how it went. We go back to the hotel and I'm all right, board out your 2 blocks. We gotta see if this works. And Viscerai just obliterated Dash over and over again. And we're oh no, we can't play this deck.
And this was right before.
This was the night before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Literally the night before?
I think it was literally the night before.
Did you have decklist submission deadlines?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's
such a blur.
I was taking a very casual approach to everything that weekend. And so I was oh no, I can't play Dash because I can't handle the anxiety going into every round. Does my opponent know that they can just block? Right? I couldn't handle that anxiety. So I was fuck it, I'm just gonna play Viscerai. And I knew I wasn't playing the best deck. And I've had some success with Runeblade in the past. It's been pretty much my only class that I've played.
Some success.
All my success has been with Runeblade, Chain, and Viscerai.
I'd say a lot of success.
A bit of success.
3 ProQuest wins.
A couple of success. But I don't actually like Runeblade very much. I like Wizard, but I never played Wizard because I knew at the bigger events locally, there's a very good chance I'd run into Oliver. And Oliver always played Prism. And so every time I'd grab my Kano deck to go play a Pro Quest or whatever, I would just have like a flash in my mind of making top 8 and then running into Prism. And just go, and then I'd put it down and I'd pick up Chain and I'd go to the Pro Quest. Because I just didn't want to play the matchup. So I was like, okay, I can play Viserai, right? But like Viserai now isn't the Viserai of before. This isn't Skeleta Sonata Viserai. That Viserai was cool.
Yeah.
Love that Viserai. This Viserai is not mindless, but it's still like linear aggro, and I just wasn't excited about it. I hate the Uprising draft format. I don't like limited very much anyway. And like it's very like you pick your lane and you stay in it. Like after like pick 6, you have to be doing your thing. You can kind of read signals, but it's very hard to shift. And I didn't want to put the time into it to like really learn the intricacies because I was like trying to take a break.
Yeah.
So I was just like, okay, Force Spy, play Viserai, whatever. And I shouldn't have done that. What I should do, and I know this about myself, is I need to play a deck I enjoy.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not enjoying the deck, I don't think very hard about my games. I like get tilted and stuff. I just don't want to be there. And so I finished 8 and 6 after like 3-3 draft, and then whatever that's left for constructed. And it's like 5 and 3 or something. Very mediocre, I would say. Like it's it's fine. 8 and 6 in the Pro Tour is like okay, but it's not where I wanted to be. But since I didn't put any time into it, I couldn't like be upset about my finish. But later that night, I had Runeterra Seasonals, right?
Yeah.
I
followed this on Twitter.
Yeah,
I saw this on Twitter.
This was actually my favorite part of the whole weekend, was watching people respond to Yost with the most, Austin Yost, live tweeting my Seasonals run while we were like out at a restaurant drinking, back at the hotel. So I'm playing every round on my phone with like a little stylus. And the struggle is trying to go do the things we need to do. We're going to meet Sam for dinner, don't have Wi-Fi, I don't have service. So Yost is like calling restaurants, trying to like figure out which ones have Wi-Fi. And then I like finished my round, like, let's go. And so we like run to the restaurant, trying to get there before the next round starts. And like that was fun. I started off 7-0, needed to go 8-1. So I just needed to win one more. Again, I didn't put any practice in. I just like stole a friend's lineup and then switched out one deck because I liked this deck. And so I was like pretty shocked to go 7-0.
Well, you followed your plan, right? You played a deck.
I played the decks I like. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
it works. Yeah. It's what I'm going to be doing. We'll talk about more for like nationals and stuff. But yeah, so 7-0, need to win one more, just get rolled by like a triple aggro lineup. I'm like, okay, it's about time for that to happen, right? Like I've been getting pretty lucky. And then the last round I get just astronomically unlucky. And I feel really bad because I was so tilted. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning. Things haven't been going my way. I've been playing competitive card games like at like some of the highest level for 20 hours straight. I'm jet lagged, like my brain is fried. And I don't usually get to that point. I don't get very fatigued because I'm so used to playing these long tournaments. But get to that point, lose, just get really lucky. And I felt really bad because I tweeted a really salty tweet. I was like, got so unlucky, then I'm out, but whatever. And then I felt horrible because my opponent is active on Twitter and like clearly saw it because someone said, oh, does that mean this person made it? And I was like, now they're going to see that like, because it's not what I meant, but it almost sounds like I'm saying I only lost because I got unlucky.
Yeah.
Right?
I didn't, when I saw that tweet, I didn't think that you were pretty salty. You were very salty.
For 20 hours, I would be delirious by then. So
It was pretty bad.
yeah, this week was pretty measured, I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel very measured. I was very tilted. I almost like threw my phone in the hotel room. And I'm not like an angry person. I never get angry. But I almost just like, like that kind of stuff. And I was sitting there and I was talking to Yost who stayed up with me and I was like, bro, I don't even know if I like card games anymore. I was like, I think I'm just done with this. I had a really long talk with some other prominent members of the community that I won't name in case they don't want their name attached to this opinion, but they were also pretty miserable during this particular format. And I was just kind of like wallowing on all that. I was like, I hate this format. I did badly at this tournament. I'm so upset. And so, yeah, I was sitting there and I was like, dude, I think I'm just going to sell my cards. Like, I don't want to play anymore. I don't want to play card games. I'm done with this. It sucks. And I went to bed and I woke up and I was like, I'm going to build that Iyslander deck. I was like, when's next Runeterra Seasonals? I'm ready. Like, it was so like weird and cathartic for me to just have like this like almost episode where I just like blew up. And then I was like, all right, let's buckle down. Let's get it. Let's make it happen. So this season, I'm trying really hard in both Runeterra and Flesh and Blood, which I haven't been able to do since that ProQuest run we were talking about, where I played Chain. I think that was the only time I really like buckled down and practiced Flesh and Blood until this national season. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
It sounds like you've been doing a lot of testing with Iyslander too.
I have been. Yeah. Spoiler alert. I'm gonna try to play Iyslander.
You had a lot of practice with that chain deck. You had some really good fatigue plans against Olden, or not Olden, Sarvo.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, you deserve those wins.
Thank you. Yeah. I had the reps, and I just hadn't been able to get to that point in Flesh and Blood up until then, where it's like I'm a good card game player, right? Like I have the fundamentals, so I got to like cheat when I came into Flesh and Blood. I already kind of knew how to play card games and stuff, so I like just had good performances. But that season with Chain was the first time I felt like, oh, I deserve to do well. Like my good performances aren't flukes, right?
Yeah, you had the head start, plus you had the reps to back it up.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh well, that was supposed to be an introduction, right? It was very long.
No, that's like
that was technically the whole question.
Oh, that's right. I was Pro Tour. It was fun.
Yeah. I actually want to go back to what you said earlier, where you decided not to play Kano because Oliver was playing Prism.
Mm-hmm.
This is honestly weird because in our locals, it's like all decks that lose to Prism and Oliver. I think his saltiness has bullied out all of the replay players and all of the all but one ninja player. So I feel like that's what you have to do. Like locals,
Yeah.
just play a deck you like and then get salty at the bad matchups.
So just tell them they don't deserve to win only because of their deck.
Yeah.
Eventually they'll stop bringing it.
Yeah. Because you have there's what, 2 Prism players after you?
One.
One? Yeah.
Miles dabbled in Prism.
Yeah, and you got bullied out, right?
By Shin. Yeah, by Shin.
Question.
All under was on Prism.
Steve, what
He's not local though. He's from up north.
Oh, really? I thought he was around here.
Did you know that in the first Pro Tour, I purposefully left my Kano deck at home so I couldn't play it?
You did mention that on stream, I think.
I regretted it.
Yeah.
Very hard. It was the breakout deck of the tournament.
Yeah.
And I was really upset.
Yeah,
That was a fun day.
That was when Oliver lost in camera.
Oh yeah.
No, that was the day after.
The day after, yeah, because the Pro Tour would have been Thursday, Friday, calling Saturday. Yeah.
Oh no, that calling top 8 was Sunday. So
Yes. That weekend. Yeah.
It was a fun weekend overall, I think.
It was a great weekend.
It was a great weekend for Flesh and Blood, I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Yeah. How do you feel at Lille, but just like the overall energy of the group?
It's really good. It's really good. People are very happy. People just like the game. Flesh and Blood attracts a different community, a different crowd than I think other card games. Like the Flesh and Blood community is more competitively focused, and the community seems to be a bit older, a bit more mature.
That's how I feel definitely. Like I don't see too many teenagers and stuff.
No.
I definitely don't see. I see a couple of college students, but not too many.
Yeah. It's a lot of it is when you're talking to a lot of it, they're like ex-grinders from something else, right?
Yeah.
In Flesh and Blood, like I've talked about this a bit in other things, but Flesh and Blood is very competitively focused, just the way it's like built. There's not a ton of room for that much innovation, right? Like Magic the Gathering has like infinite cards and infinite different ways to build the decks. That's like one of the more interesting things about Magic is like building the decks is so fascinating.
Yes.
The competitive gameplay, a lot less so for me. Flesh and Blood is like the opposite. Building the decks is like, there's like tech choices, right? But like if you're playing an Iyslander deck, you're like playing an Iyslander deck.
You're playing like 40 plus blues and 35 of them are like ice. And There's only that many.
It has like the
ice
same
cards.
40 card core.
Yeah, exactly. So there's only so much you can really experiment. But the competitive gameplay and like the way you approach each matchup, I think, is so fascinating because you get to see so many cards because each card isn't such high power level compared to the next card. Like they're like, the difference between like a bomb card and it's not really that much different. Yeah. So it creates a lot more interesting dynamics in competitive play, I think.
This is actually, I think, where a lot of the limited environment kind of almost fails, where a lot of the rares and a lot of the majestics just don't feel good to pick.
They suck.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
You're just like, I don't want to pick this. I'd rather just have this comment.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's a weakness, but when you're like drafting casually, it feels bad to just like pick up passes like $10 majestic, especially at the lower levels when you're like a kid or like a teenager. And, like I need to get as much value out of this draft as possible, so I can continue playing.
What's this card worth? Oh,
Yeah, it's like 2 cents.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember in college, like when I first started drafting, I was like trying to I looked at the price list. I was like, I gotta memorize this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this card's $2. Okay, I'm taking this.
I remember being so poor that I would have to be like, I had to do that too, just to afford to eat at the events, like at like Grand Prix and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, oh, dude, my value on my drafts were like really low, so I'm just gonna have some snacks. Maybe hit McDonald's after.
Yeah, it was like, especially during Grand Prix. I guess this is kind of touching on a later question, but you kind of get, even though it's like the same feeling, like when you go to a Flesh and Blood Grand Prix, it doesn't feel as, you don't feel as desperate, honestly. Like a lot of times I went to like Magic GPs back then when prices were still relatively low compared to like the cost of like living and stuff and like renting out rooms. It was a lot easier for a bunch of college students to be like, okay, we're gonna make money this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When nowadays everybody's just accepted, okay, I'm losing $200 this weekend.
It's an event that you go to and you spend money, and I think it changes like people's perception of the event. Like when you go and you're like, it's vacation, spending money, and have a good time, it like fundamentally changes how you approach your trip. Because like, yeah, I used to be that too, where it's like, I need to make money this trip. Like I need to enter only the plus EV events. I need to like ship these because I think they're gonna spike on Friday and I think they're gonna drop on Saturday once people realize this deck's not actually good, right? Like those are the days. I much prefer this.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. You're not as stressed, right? I remember going to Vegas for like, it was like Modern Masters like 1 or 2 for like a GP. I made like $800 because I was focusing on making money. And it was just like so stressful. I was playing, Magic, but it was
It's like a work weekend, yeah.
Yeah.
So what's this drink, Justin?
So this is technically a Seabreeze. So it's vodka, cranberry juice, and grapefruit. Both have. Usually they go in like a tall Collins with ice, and you float it up. But I know we're having 5 cocktails, so I split it down just so we can kind of taste ourselves.
Well, it smells great. We haven't toasted yet. Huh?
Also, there's grapefruit bitters in there, kind of give it that little
Awesome.
zest.
Sounds good. Let's toast.
All right. Cheers.
Whoops. Need anything, Miles?
I'm enjoying coffee too.
I love it.
That's really refreshing.
Yeah, that is great.
That's
Yeah. It's really good.
I would drink this on a hot day. Which is
This is a hot day drink.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, so I guess how did you get into content creation? I know you're really big on Legends of Runeterra. I don't know if I know you've done a bit on like Flesh and Blood. Have you done a bit in like Magic too? But like, okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
how'd you get into it and like what's your approach right now?
so I started in card games playing Magic, as many people did. Post high school, I was like 18, 19 or something. And I never did content creation. I was a good player, but not one you'd ever heard of. If you were like a local, you didn't know me. But if you played like the PTQ circuit, then you probably run into me a couple times.
Did you primarily play just in Sacramento area?
Yeah, I didn't have money.
You didn't go down to like Vacaville or anything?
I would go down to like Vacaville when I could.
Okay.
So like you may have run into me at
I
some
probably
point.
ran into you at some point, like Forgotten Path.
I was very quiet.
Yeah.
I was a very quiet guy. And so yeah, I was never like anybody in Magic. And then Magic kind of imploded, I guess, competitive Magic. With the whole Mythic Invitational thing.
Yeah.
During COVID, that was a downer.
Yeah.
And I haven't played Magic since. I showed up to that Mythic Invitational, which is like a big tournament, right? It's like a Pro Tour.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like a Pro Tour Plus.
It was only online, right?
It was only online. I showed up to that
such a
tournament,
bummer.
and I was so upset about the way it had been handled that I didn't practice for it. I imported a list and immediately submitted it, and then showed up, played my matches to get my min cash, and then I haven't touched Magic since. So I was looking for something new, which was Artifact actually. RIP.
Yeah, nice. Oh,
RIP Artifact.
Yeah. Okay.
I love
I
Artifact.
did
Yeah.
too.
So yes.
Anyway, so after that was Runeterra, which I actually played during the beta and didn't like it. I bounced off it. It was too simple. Coming from Magic and Artifact, Runeterra beta was very, very simple. It's kind of like Hearthstone, which I kind of enjoyed, but it wasn't like my thing, right? I don't want to make it my main game. So I left it, and then they announced this like Path to Pro thing with like seasonal tournaments where you have to hit like a certain ladder rank and qualify. Anyone can be in it. You know, like 10,000 to first place, and I was like, oh, I'll try it. Why not, right? So I put together 3 decks because you have to have 3 deck lineups in Legends of Runeterra, and then you ban one for your opponents, and you have to win with the next 2. I'd never played anything like that before, so I have like 1 deck I was really good at, and like 2 decks I really hoped that one of them got banned, right? And I ended up going 5-0 in qualifying. That's how they used to do it.
Yeah.
You had to
Nice.
go 5-0.
That's right.
Yeah. And so I qualified to top 32, sorry. And I was like, whoa, this is cool. Top 32 out of like 1,000 people. More luck than anything. At that point, I was not very good in the game. But my friends have been pushing me to try streaming for like 2 years. They're like, hey, you're really good at these card games. You should stream it. You should make videos or whatever. And I was like, nah, dude, that ain't for me. Right? Like, I never actually watched a stream, so I didn't know what streamers did. But I'd seen like clips of Tyler 1 and stuff, right? So I'm like, that ain't me, man. Like, I'm not like that. I'm like a quiet guy, quiet kid. And so finally, they're like, you top 32 this new competitive game. You have nothing to do, right? Like, just do it.
Just do it.
Just start streaming. And
Especially if it's like a new game.
It was like, the game was seeing some popularity rise because of the seasonals and everything. And I was like, okay, fine. So I turned on my camera and I read like a bunch of forums and articles and I understood how streaming was supposed to work. When you start streaming, you're going to stream to 0 people. Technically, you're going to stream to 1. That's you, right? And you're going to do that for a long time. Sometimes someone's going to trickle in. Maybe you hit 2, maybe you hit 3 viewers, right? And like that's what you should expect for a very long time until you get a couple people, maybe get lucky. You're in some event that draws some people in. And I was like, okay, I understand what to expect. No one's going to show up anyway. Turn on the camera, start playing the game, blah, 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 blah. And 8 people were there. And I was like, oh my God!
Great for like
8 people!
First week or like first day?
First day. I think I maxed out at 8 people. I got rated.
Fantastic.
For 12 people. 12 people! Yeah, and I was like, and I was sitting there like, doing the stream or whatever, and I'm messaging my friend on Discord. I'm like, what am I doing? People rate me! Like, what am I supposed to do? He's like, just keep doing your thing. And so I'm like, trying to entertain these people. I still don't really know how to stream, and I don't know what anything's going on, right? So they're like, you should read off your follower alerts. And I'm like, yeah, what's that, right? Like, I had no idea what I was doing. And then, the next day I come back on, and there's already a couple people on. Like, right after, like 30 minutes after I start, I got like 3-4 people. I'm like, what's happening? And then, a week after that, I have 80 people turning into the stream, right?
Oh
like,
my God.
it just happened. I got really lucky because right about that time, I hit rank 1.
Nice.
And I wrote a big, long post on Reddit.
Oh,
right.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And so a bunch of people came from the post to the stream. And the thing about streaming and content creation in general is that people just seeing your name is very valuable, right? Like, no matter the context they see you in, if they see your name a couple times, they'll click on it the next time they see you, right? So, like, they see my name on the leaderboard. Maybe they saw my name in the Reddit post. And then they see me on Twitch and they go, I'll check them out, right? And so, like, that went really well. And I was, like, just kind of snowballing viewers. I started hitting, like, 100, 150 viewers. And then the next seasonal tournament came around. And I was, like, doing really good on viewers and everything. And I spiked the whole thing, like, 1 first. My viewers exploded, right? I went from, like, 150 to, like, 300, like, overnight, basically. And that's how I got started on Twitch. I would consider myself more of a YouTuber now than a Twitch streamer, but that's more a question of monetization and stuff.
Yeah.
Twitch is very hard to make money on, and it's takes a lot of time.
Your subathon in particular.
The subathon in particular that was an interesting one.
So I guess Oliver hasn't seen it. Want to explain the subathon?
Yeah, I can. To anyone not familiar with the concept of a subathon, does anyone, do you know what a subathon is?
No.
To anyone not familiar with the concept of a subathon, basically you go live for a certain amount of time. I picked like an hour. I go live for 1 hour. However, for every person that subs, which is like $5, I only have a certain amount of minutes. And mine was like 3, right? So 3 minutes for every person who subscribes to the channel or donates the appropriate amount of $5. And I was like, okay, I'm going to stream for like 8 hours. Maybe like 10, maybe 12 at the most. And so I put up these goals. It was like, normal stuff like, I do this many push-ups at 4 hours of streaming. At 6 hours of streaming, I'll do this. And then I did some like stretch goals. At like 25 hours of streaming, we're never going to hit that. At 25 hours of streaming, I'll do an Ari cosplay or whatever, right? Yeah. At 40 hours of streaming, yeah, right, we won't hit that, right? I'll make another rap. Another Terra rap, right? Version 2. At 50 hours of streaming, I'll dye my hair whatever color you want. You can see where this is going.
Yeah, you can see your hair.
Yeah. I streamed for 104 hours straight. Whew. It was a miserable experience. It was cool. It was cool to see how much support people people like just see how much like people cared about what I was doing in my content and stuff. right? A lot of people were just like, yo, I'm just like a YouTube frog, whatever. I just watch your videos, whatever. But I heard about the event. I had to come support you. Here's my Twitch Prime or whatever. You know, just like seeing that a bunch was like just really cool, very humbling. And yeah, now my hair's dyed and I have an Ari cosplay in the mail. So
Well,
that was the
congratulations.
subathon.
Do you get like breaks in between, or is
I slept
okay?
about 5 hours a night on average, 5 to 6, until the end where I was sleeping like 8 just to like try to stay off camera for a little bit. But I was streaming like 16 plus hours a day, like where I was sitting in front of the computer.
Right.
And then when I went to bed, the camera was still on.
Pointed at you or pointed?
At the first night, it was pointed at me, and even though people couldn't see very well, it caused me so much anxiety that I didn't sleep at all. I slept like 2 hours. So the next time I was like, listen guys, I'm not doing that. So I like just turned the camera so you could see like kind of where my feet were. So you could see like kind of when I'm waking up.
Yes.
And I would open the windows so as the sun came in, you could see. But it was like pitch black at night. And then I would just run like my previous seasonal runs or worlds runs on YouTube in the background. Where like my camera was up in the top right. Yeah, that was an experience, let's say.
We should do that.
No.
Yeah, run it. It's fine. Nothing wrong will happen. I promise you.
Yeah.
Maybe it's stream
It's tough. How many people are we gonna get? Like, we're gonna get like what? 2 hours, 4 hours of streaming at most. This is not, I'm not trying to bait any viewers, by the way, to make Oliver suffer.
Did you watch any of the Arsenal Pass when they like live streams on
I
that?
don't watch any content.
Okay, they did like 2 or 4 hours and they got like 50 viewers.
Mm.
So expect like a fifth of that. So 10.
That's half the views I get when I stream at.
When was the last time you streamed Puzzles and Dragons?
I don't know,
3 years.
2015.
That game was great, right? Spent a lot of money on
I've heard a lot about that.
that game. I don't recommend it.
Absolutely, do not play it. Do not play it
Yeah.
in any circumstances.
Yeah.
There's a reason why my icon, my Discord user profile picture thing is a
Santa Madra.
it's at Smattering because it reminds me of never going back to
Yeah,
the
no,
game.
go back,
So speaking of past games we don't play, we covered kind of what you did before, which was like Magic and this and that. Any other games that are kind of let's talk about Artifact first, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry, Oliver. This isn't much
That's
for you.
fine. Did you not play Artifact?
I don't know.
Really? I played Artifacts. I was like super hyped for it. Well, not really super hyped. I was like, I'll try it. And I saw the cards. I was like, this art's pretty good. I'll try it out. I was like, day one, spend $20. See Axe, $50. Okay, I'm never opening that. This is like cursed for card games. And 2 weeks later, I checked back and I'm like, oh, Axe is $20 now. Uh-oh.
Axe coin.
Yeah, Axe coin going down. And I remember the slow, not even slow death, it was like a medium speed death.
Yeah.
And the slow amount of poking build up for when they were going to try and fix it and release the next set. What a sad
The game had so much potential,
Yeah, it did.
but like you would have released. Like I remember the day it released, and I kept up with like every piece of Artifact news. And then it released, and I looked at the client, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, do you want your game to die? Like, there's nothing here. You spend premium currency to like enter in these events just to win more premium currency that you can't do anything with. There's no leaderboard.
Yeah.
There's no incentive to play. There's no tournaments. There's no nothing. Right?
There was like
Nothing.
There's a few like third party held tournaments,
Yeah.
and they were very small considering the popularity of Artifacts.
Here's the thing, I think. Valve is like Bethesda in that they rely on their community to support the games from day one. And they quickly realized that the clogging community is not like the Gmod community.
Oh yeah, modding community is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whereas like the card game community is just like, where's our stuff?
Yeah.
We need incentive.
Can I run in client tournaments?
No. Oh, okay, yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
And the other thing is like, I guess this is, people went over it, but like the games, they felt long.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
They are mentally exhausting.
Yeah. Because there's like all these tiny mistakes, like tiny decisions, and you not getting 5 gold 4 turns ago beat you in the ass like that turn.
Mm-hmm.
Or like you picking up this cheap item really hurt you later on when you needed this,
Before.
Yeah,
exactly. And then the occasional like fuck up with the arrows.
Yeah.
That
I think that was-
randomness was so brutal.
It was
sometimes.
brutal sometimes. I think it was less of a big deal that people made it out to be,
Yeah.
but it did suck sometimes. Absolutely.
It's the same thing with like mana screw magic, where it's like high level decks don't really get mana screwed.
Yeah.
But when it does happen, like, oh, this was awful.
Kidding me? Yeah. That was the best part of, not the best part, but like one of my favorite parts of Runeterra was like obviously don't have to worry about that. Like yeah, you get unlucky, it's RNG in the card game, but yeah, both Runeterra and Flesh and Blood have like taking different approaches to solving resource systems because Magic does a lot of things incredibly well, but its resource system is so archaic.
Yeah, the entire game system is built around making the resource system less feel bad.
Yeah, that's it. Every set they come out with things just to make it less shitty when you get like screwed or whatever.
Yeah, like cycling was a big thing. People love cycling only because it allows you to like not get answered. Like,
Yeah.
The lands that flip into spells and stuff.
Yeah.
Those are cool. By the way.
Yeah. What are they called? DFCs?
MDFCs.
MDFCs.
There's TDFCs.
What's the M?
MDFCs? They cannot flip back and forth while on the battlefield.
No, what is M?
Modal.
Okay.
MDFCs.
So it's like dual face card.
Yeah. Alright. Yeah, I was a Magic judge before, honestly. Joining
Thank you.
for that. So
But yeah, I played one third-party artifact tournament. I won $100 for top meeting, and that was it. And I only did it because it was draft. Because the constructed format there was crap.
Yeah.
yes.
It was all just like
It was
Time of Triumph,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's it.
So like Drow deck, right?
It was
No,
the
no,
axe-
no.
the
The
axe-
axe
it's-
of Triumph.
Yeah, it's Time of Triumph, and then whatever color you want, because it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
It's just Time of Triumph.
Time Triumph was insane. I
It's
did
insane.
very much enjoyed the mono blue Zeus deck.
Yes.
That deck was
Yeah.
so sick.
Super fun.
I love playing blue black, as usual in that.
Yeah.
Blue green was more fun than I expected. But yeah, artifact was cool. Although I have found pieces of what I really enjoy in Runeterra and pieces of what I really enjoy in Flesh and Blood, and neither of them does it fully for me. So it's really nice for me to have both, especially because like Runeterra is my job,
Yeah.
right? So it's really nice to just be like kind of frustrated with this or whatever, tired of making content. I'm just gonna go to an armory. Like I'm just gonna play an event and like I don't have to film it.
Yeah.
Regardless of what my YouTube commenters think.
A social relationship.
Yeah, just not parasocial enough.
I'm glad I found out about that today.
Alright, Justin. What do we got here?
Third cocktail. So this one isn't shaken. It's just built. It's a vodka watermelon agua fresca. The agua fresca is based off of watermelon juice, lime juice. We got a little bit of hibiscus syrup and then water. I just made that at work.
Ooh.
And then just so it's not too sweet, but you get kind of like a little like weird spice kick. I put fire water in there, just a couple dashes, just so you get a little here and there kind of thing. So.
Thank you.
Right.
Also, I thought they were too small the last two cocktails, so I made them a little bit bigger.
I'm happy
So
with
we
that.
can
Oh, that is good.
That is
I like the little cake you were saying.
the
That's
fire
very
water.
good. Yeah.
Nice.
That's good.
So, meta comment. I had this at work, right? Or I had this while you were working. When I went to
Oh, the agua fresca? Yeah.
yeah. So this is
I was like, they want a fifth cocktail. I was like, dude, we have this agua fresca, but we don't put alcohol in it. And so the bartenders thought, why don't we just throw tequila or vodka or anything? And it just works. So
it's pretty good.
That's really good. It's always been really good.
So speaking of online games, what do you think of FAB Online?
I really like Fab Online.
Talishar.
Talishar now.
Talishar.net.
Yeah, Talishar.
Talishar.net. Yep.
Yeah, legally distinct from Flesh and Blood card game.
Yes. I think it is a massive positive for the community and the game in general. I hope it does not get taken down anytime soon. It basically exploded in popularity to a degree that I don't think the owners expected.
Yeah.
And as the Flesh and Blood creators, whatever, they can't help but it's in your face right there.
Yeah.
Everybody knows about it. But man, I hope they don't take it away. Or I hope if they do, they're like, we're working with them on a project or something, right? Like,
Yeah, guys.
So they have to have some good reason to do
Yeah.
so. Because otherwise, there's a lot of red marks right there. Or red lights, right?
I would rather them work with the Talishar guys, have them like advertise our local art events in their client or whatever, or like do whatever to like advertise their events. Just ways to like kind of alleviate the potential like legal issues, right? Because like when they're not American, like Laos is American, so they're not like super lawsuit happy, and they're not big enough to like be super lawsuit happy.
because it's still very expensive.
Yeah. And it seems that at least the Talishar.net guys are totally willing to work with LSS in terms of like making sure this is totally okay. So hopefully it goes good. What do you think of the criticisms for it, which is too much data and solves the meta too quickly? I know since you played Runeterra, you're kind of used to that, right?
It is nice to have like the Wild West of Flesh and Blood or whatever, right? Like, people tell me it was back in like when the old days of Magic, the magazine meta, but like I didn't play back then. I think more data is better, and like people who say like, oh, you lose your edge or whatever because people like steal your deck list, like boomers. You know, like
Okay.
if you're a better player, then like use the data to your advantage, right?
Yeah.
And like most of the data is kind of useless because the average player of Flesh and Blood has not caught up, and that is like how it is for a lot of things. So like the average in-game Magic the Gathering player is not anywhere close to like a tournament grinder.
Yeah.
Right. Just go to your local Friday Night Magic, like you'll see, right? And things like Legends of Runeterra, where everything is online, data is so fast, like the average player starts to catch up. Now they're nowhere near like a seasonals grinder, right? But it like lessens that gap, and I think that's just a net positive.
Yeah.
Like if you're the grinder and you're like, this takes away my advantage, like suck it, get better. You know what I mean? Like now you have more competition. This is like good, right? But I think you want to do anything you can to remove friction from not playing the game, starting the game, getting into the game competitively, right? You want to make it as smooth and as easy as possible for people.
Yeah, especially for Flesh and Blood, where you have the competitive scene of the game is like the scene, right?
It's it. Yeah, that's all there is.
Yeah. So the easier onboarding people have, totally see that. One of the concerns, actually, I mentioned to a couple of guys here, is the skills that FAB Online tests are different from the skills that Paper Flesh and Blood tests. Most notably, working memory, where you don't have logs and you don't have all these upkeep triggers and all these automatic triggers to be reminded of all the time.
Sure.
So I think that's I did say that it's a net negative for at the time I mentioned to the other guys, but now I thought about it, I think it's a net positive because that allows Paper Flesh and Blood players to have a better advantage when they actually go to events, and that helps alleviate the grinders thinking, oh, why am I losing my advantage? Well, you still have advantage with working memory.
Yeah.
Get better memory.
Yeah, there's that. And then this was really big for me going from, because I basically I skipped like the middle phase of Magic. I went from going to my first draft, I had learned the game, registered for a draft that night, and then showed up. And then 2 weeks later, maybe even like a week and a half, I was in my first Grand Prix. Like I skipped the middle phase. I did all the research I could, and I just wanted to be competitive as fast as possible.
Wow.
And I was like I love strategy games, they're my favorite, but I was like a strategy game starved child. Nobody would play with me growing up. So I finally found a community that was like a strategy game.
You did almost what I did.
Oh yeah?
Actually, I did practically the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I played kitchen table Magic for like 3 days. Went to my Friday night draft that week.
Mhm.
2 weeks later was the Pro Tour.
Like a PTQ?
No, like the actual Pro Tour, Gate Crash.
Okay.
I watched it, fucking loved it. Bought the first place deck outright, played in like GP the next week. So
Hell yeah.
I just like dove in head first, no idea how to play this deck. Just got reps with my kitchen table friends who got destroyed because they're playing random
They're just playing
draft
kitchen table stuff,
Yeah. And got utterly destroyed, but went like 3-6 or something like that. And it was like, I got some wins, I had some fun.
And then you're in it.
And I'm in it, yeah.
Yeah. One of the big tools to catch me up to like where the other competitive players was Magic Online, because I didn't understand the rules. Like I knew the rules, but I didn't know the rules. You know what I mean? And like if you played Magic Online, you understood exactly how all the triggers interacted. You knew where you had priority and where you didn't. It wasn't like a fuzzy idea anymore. And just like a couple days of Flesh and Blood Online taught me so much of that for Flesh and Blood, and I was already like a good Flesh and Blood player, right? But like just a couple days of FAB Online, and I was like, this is how that works. I don't actually have priority here.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I do it this way and my opponent responds here, I can do this. Like that kind of stuff. And I think that's so important to give people access to.
Yeah.
Just so that they feel comfortable going to these bigger, more competitive events. And as far as your other like possible negative people, not having to keep track of their triggers and having the log and things like that. I think Magic players, especially the online grinders, have proven time and time again that like they're the real deal, right? Like people like I'm pretty sure like Reed Duke was like a moto grinder or whatever.
Yep.
And these people are like the best of the best. Maybe you have to practice at it separately, right? Maybe that's not something that you're used to when you go to your first couple events, but it's definitely a skill that can be worked on. And I think we will see now that Flesh and Blood Online is a thing. We will see these people come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And just crush that.
I still have a huge. I follow still a lot of like the Moto grinders. So I played Arena and Moto competitively for the last like 2 years. Not so much recently, but a lot of them are actually trying FAB because of Flesh and Blood Online. So I do foresee like quite a few of them start playing competitively.
I saw Tomaharo Saito start posting about it.
Ooh.
Oh, I did not see that.
Yeah, so I think that he was mentioning that he saw a couple of the events that are happening in Osaka.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
he's interested.
I don't know anything.
You want, I can explain them to you. That's fine.
Sure. Who's that?
Wait, Tomoharu Saito's banned from Magic though, right?
He is banned from Magic,
Oh.
but I think but he still owns Hard Ruby.
Yeah. It's not like he got banned not for like playing reasons. He got banned
He got banned from stalling, didn't he?
for stalling.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was stalling. But yeah, actually, to touch on your earlier point about like working memory now, one thing that differentiates paper Magic or paper FAB is that you're not allowed to take notes in game.
Yeah.
So I think the gap is a lot easier to bridge with online Magic versus Magic.
For sure.
Online Magic is better.
Mhm.
But actually, what I wanted to touch on, another thing I wanted to touch on is the middle ground that you guys mentioned, that you guys skipped. Where do you think? I feel like that's also missing in FAB a lot, where you have middle ground players that know their deck but don't care too much to know the opponent's deck. They do their thing, and occasionally get wrecked by their opponent, but for the most part, they're content with just learning their deck and learning ins and outs of their deck without learning the metagame. Like
It's a very linear approach. I think that's very step one of getting into competitive.
Yeah,
in
Absolutely.
particular.
Step one.
Going further into that, taking additional steps are the details that separate, just like, oh, I made day 2 at a Grand Prix or a calling, right? Compared to top 80, one of the events. Step one's great, but learning the steps afterwards, that's really on you. That's like diving deep into the rabbit hole of like learning the meta, how to fight against the meta, how to play against it, and essentially creating a game plan for each different type of deck that you play.
and that's the thing, right? Where you have that a lot with FNM level players who they pick up a deck that they think is cool and they just play a couple games with it every FNM. They go like 1-2, 1-3, 2-2, whatever, and they're happy and content, and they don't feel like investing further in that. I feel like at the local level, a lot of these flush bluff players are being kind of crowded out, mostly because the step that you take to like actually build sideboards and think about your sideboard and think about like what your matchup is, that's a daunting step for a lot of card game players. That I feel FAB is it's a necessary skill that you have to learn to have some modicum of success in a lot of matchups.
It's exacerbated, I think, by the fact that you don't have a separate sideboard.
Mhm.
You bring in 80.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And so like when you see a Magic the Gathering list, most people just like copy it and they copy the sideboard and then like they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Right, but like obviously there's spells going against the decks with like the counter spells, right?
Yeah.
Or like whatever. But
the trigger hate.
exactly, yeah, like
it's-
that makes
it's
sense.
very
But, like,
linear, that-
when you just see like here's your 80 card Iyslander deck, you're like,
It's like, oh, there's no notes on what side.
yeah, what do I bring in? What do I take out?
Yeah.
Right. So like
And you were mentioning earlier, you took out the yellow ice wings because of Oasis Respite.
Mhm.
That's not something you would know just by looking at deck lists, right?
Yeah.
And I remember we were talking about this earlier with France. The Dory versus Dromai matchup. Oliver, how do you feel at that right now as a Dromai player?
What do you mean?
Like odds right now, 50-50?
I think they're in his favor.
How much?
I don't know.
Because Shin lost both of his Dory games today.
Yes.
So like,
Okay, no, he was trying a new strategy actually.
Okay.
He was trying to fatigue them for some reason.
okay, because my
I
thoughts
have no
were,
idea why.
if you're a new player and you only you like Dromai because you like dragons,
Mhm.
and you play against Dory matchup, you think that's unwinnable.
yeah, because you
Yeah.
play your dragons, they kill your dragons, Dawnblade gets to Zodiacs and you die.
Yeah. And then like as soon as like both players are at a high enough skill level to understand what the other deck does and understand like what the game plan is, it gets to a much more like equilibrium state.
Mhm.
And that's part of the reasons why Stubbies got banned, is because even though at high level, the fight deck wasn't necessarily confronted too much because certain decks knew how to play against it. At the FNM level or at the army level,
It's unstoppable.
yep, unstoppable because like I don't know what Person Week does. I never played this card.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to ice react.
Oldhim, by the way, I'm doing a lot of thinking about Oldhim. I think he has the most powerful hero ability ever printed, like not close.
It's actually really powerful.
It's so
Better than Sargo. Better than chain?
Better than chain? Oh, true. No, chain.
Better than
Phoenix
three-rod briar?
No, alright. Yes.
No,
I
yeah,
actually
I
do
actually
think
think better
it is.
than
I think it's
Briar.
definitely better than
If people weren't so low on Oldham during the Briar winter, I think Oldham would have succeeded in that time when people were playing Redline Briar.
Winter's Will Winter instead, right?
What's that?
Winter instead? Winter's Will Winter instead? Yeah.
Actually, yeah, I started playing like that like couple weeks, like Aria coming out was like when I started playing the game, but I like couldn't play, there was like no events I could come to. I actually drove here for my first ever Flesh and Blood.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
was that the pre-release?
no, it was just a random draft,
Oh, okay.
and they were full.
Is that us?
It was 8 people. No, it was Game Castle.
Santa Clara?
Santa Clara, yeah.
That was us. Oh, that's us.
Oh yeah.
Wait.
Well, I showed up, and they were like, "Sorry, we only have room for 8 people." And I was like,
Oh, I vaguely remember this. I vaguely remember thinking to myself, man, these guys drove all the way from Sacramento. I feel really bad watching them away.
that was probably me. Yeah.
I was probably
So I bought 2 little Blitz decks. I bought a Prison Blitz deck and I think a Lexi one. And I went home and I played them against myself. But yeah, I just wanted to try the game. There was a point I was gonna make. Oh, but yeah, people like at that time were telling me about Redline Briar and how like lust it was. And then now I've been talking to a lot of the top players who have told me that like if that meta lasted for another month, Oldham would have been the best deck and it like wouldn't have been close. Thought that was really interesting.
Going back to the slow Wild West meta, right? Part of what Panel alleviates is that you get to a meta equilibrium faster, right?
Mm.
Which can be a good thing or a bad thing. Where
Yeah.
if there is an actual best deck like Starbow, then your meta's like miserable for 3 months.
Yeah.
But if there isn't, right, you get to a point where the best deck slowly falls out of favor, and the meta kind of warps around that, and you have like more counterplay, and people are hopefully more satisfied with the meta.
I actually, obviously, because you guys watched me play all the pro quests, I think Chain was the better deck than Starbow.
Mhm.
I think like the Pro Tour winning list, like basically we all ended up on with like the 3 Choma Vindals.
Yep.
The 6 Belittles was like, I think it was better than Starbow. I started winning that matchup so often, and like you beat Prism, if you just beat everything. Like that deck was a monster.
Yeah, I think so long as you had a good plan to Starbow, because the triangle previously was Runeblade, Starbow, Prism, right?
Yeah.
Runeblade was always Viserai or Chain, depending on the time. But yeah, if your Chain was really good against Starbow, you win because that's a whole
Because you beat
triangle
Prism.
right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you only have to worry about the off meta decks on occasion, but even then, you have a very linear game plan against them.
Then there was the 1 finals in the Pro Quest where playing against Starbow, and I did not get to see my turn 4.
Oh,
Here's
right.
Joseph.
That was here. Game
That was
Castle
here.
Santa Clara.
Game Castle Santa Clara.
Yeah.
I died before I got to see turn 4 after blocking with all of my cards I was allowed to and all of my equipment. Husk included.
That was hilarious.
Wow.
That was,
I felt so bad. I was like, dang, you just came off this great game against France.
yeah.
France could have YOLO
The Sonata, yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't a YOLO. That was, I guess it was a YOLO.
It
It was. I put myself in this situation where I could win on his turn. Right?
Yeah.
Almost worked too.
Almost. I need one more.
Yeah.
But yeah, Joseph did this. I top 8 too, right? Joseph was my first match, and I got him to like 12, and I was still at like 20 something, and then I didn't live the next 3 turns. It was crippling. Okay, crippling.
my round 1 was Joseph, and it was my second time playing Prism. I got obliterated.
Yeah.
He's sitting in the Shadow Realm.
He high rolled the entire tournament. Not to say anything bad about like.
That's what Zach does,
I
right?
didn't insist. Yeah, but like, yeah, he put himself in these situations, right? So there's still some semblance of skill to get.
I think the last turn was something like Starbow, Fuse, Oakenhold, Pulse, Hammer.
Yeah.
And I died. And I was like, oh. And then we had the 2.5-hour drive home where I was just so bitter.
I think Patrick did mention that.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you're just like, could I have done anything?
Yeah. No, can I do anything? No. I was like,
That was me versus Alan in the Road to Nationals night. Because I remember Marissa thinking I was mad the whole drive home when I was just like thinking about that
Could I
matchup
have
the
done
whole
anything?
time. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then Alan posted his deck later, and I was like, all right, if any of these lined up, no.
And I got banned, so it's fine.
No, he's talking
No,
about
the
their
road
chapter.
maps.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
the
Oh,
Iyslander.
right.
This falls into like what you talked about with like PT Lille and also like competing in LOR, but like how do you keep yourself going? I know you said you got burnt out sometimes, and you also feel down about not playing either card game in particular. What keeps you going, or what stops you from getting down about it? Do you know?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of things. It can be tough sometimes. Like anytime you make something your job, it adds a lot of stuff, baggage to whatever it is. Mostly it's like I love competing and I love to get better at things. So like I find joy in learning new skills. So like if I'm stagnant, I get depressed. And so for me it's like I pick a deck that I really enjoy. And then I just play it because all I want to do is get better at the deck. Like winning is secondary to me, to getting better. And to me, that's the competition, right? It's not like taking first in an event is super sick, and I love that. But like, I would rather feel like I'm progressing with a deck than just randomly spike a tournament. That's like a better feeling to me. So yeah, for me, like I keep mentioning how important it is. I have to pick a deck I like, and I have to play it. And I've been ignoring that in Flesh and Blood for so long. Otherwise I would just play Kano at every event. But now like Wizards meta, and I'm so excited about it. So yeah, there's that to avoid burnout. Sometimes you just have to like step back.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's been a lot of times with Runeterra more than Flesh and Blood because I don't play Flesh and Blood that often. Where I'm just like, I'm tilted.
Yeah.
I'm upset. It's been getting progressively worse over the last couple days.
Especially the recent meta.
Basically the recent meta with Kaisa, I'm just gonna not play for a couple days. I'm just gonna go do anything else. I usually read a bunch of what I call popcorn fiction, where it's like it's books that like aren't gonna win any awards, but like I enjoy the concept and it's like fun, right?
Guilty pleasure.
It's a guilty pleasure, and I just like dive super deep into those and really enjoy it. Yeah, stuff like that.
So one of the things that you've been practicing lately is Iyslander.
Mm.
How do we feel about Iyslander? Oliver, you can go first because you've been playing Iyslander too.
Icelander's fine.
Fine?
Yeah, it's good.
Are you playing her?
No?
Not good enough.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, why are you not playing her?
I'm not playing her because she takes too much brain, too much skill.
No,
I
it's
don't
not
have
enough
either of
cold foils.
Yeah.
I only have, the only bling is 3 Angel of Ice, cold foil, 3 Frost foil, 3 alt art channeling creatures.
Ice Eternal.
3 extended art ice tunnels.
Those just came out.
Also, can you play those?
Yeah,
They're gonna be like war, right?
Yeah, you can play
I
them.
mean, like
So-
some decks are playing like gems in there too, right? Like the fables.
Like I'm playing
hard.
So those are the only kind of printing. So
They recently softened the penalties for.
It was really bad in
They
like Vegas. Or
yeah,
whatever.
they're kind of pretty vague about that. So.
Yeah, there's a couple controversies. I think for that price release, they recently softened the penalties for large prints, especially with regards to foils. If there is a pattern that we noticed, it's gonna be it's still might be considered cheating, but like it has to be like a clear pattern. It has to be like a clear advantage from the pattern. So for the most part, they just be like, hey, these foils are very clearly working. You can tell they're bad. We're just gonna have you swap them out, or we can cross them if they're too expensive for you.
That happened to me in Lille. I have foil mortar tides, which I've been planning on swapping out. I don't actually like foils at all because they feel different in my hands, so I don't like them. I love cold foils because they don't warp and they look so pretty. But I don't like rainbow foils, so I've been trying to swap them out. And I had one more foil mortar tide and one foil Windblood incantation because I just didn't have another copy. And the judge in Lille was like, "You can't have these," and I was like, "What do you mean I can't have these? I own these cards, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, well, you need to have a different version." I cut to this Runeblood incantation, 2 out of 7 times or whatever. And I was like, okay, well, I asked every vendor here, both of them, right? Like, if they had any extras, and they don't, and no one I know has any extras, can we just proxy it? And he's like, no.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I didn't appeal this. This wasn't like a head judge. This was like a routine deck check. Like a deck check, I asked the judge. I was like, here's my deck. Can you look it through? Let me know if anything's an issue. He's like, this is an issue. You need to be replaced. Right? So he wasn't like trying to hand me a penalty or anything. I think he was trying to advise me as best he could. He did not seem like English was his first language.
Oh, makes sense.
So yeah, ignore if he sounds
Rude.
Ignore that.
Yeah, that's
Right?
right.
So yeah, I was just like looking around. I was like, does anybody have a Runeblood incantation? I ended up having to sprint back to someone else's hotel room
Okay.
and open their door and get their room by incantation so I could pick it. But like, it feels so bad. Like, I don't care because I don't like foils, but like, what if you do?
I love foils.
Right?
I'm trying to foil out the last few cards just so I don't have
Just so
that
you don't have to deal with it. It sucks if you're like, oh man, I love my deck. I have like all these, my favorite cards are foiled, right? Like, for me in Magic or whatever, I like to foil out like 1 or 2 cards. Where like in Blue White Control, I wanted my Aetherling to be full.
Yes.
Because it was like the card, right? You know what I mean? Like, if you have like 1 combo piece, I want that to be full.
Yep.
And
That's
you,
the red flag.
yeah, it's understandably so, right? But it sucks. It
Yeah.
just feels bad.
It's like the namesake of your deck, right? And
Yeah.
You just can't
You just
have it
can't,
in that
yeah.
special edition.
Yeah, what is this?
So that is a whiskey sour. Initially, we're gonna just stick to vodka, but of course, France has been doing a good amount of whiskey drinking on these podcasts. So he brought a whiskey. This is actually the strongest one, I think, when I tasted it. But basically, it's just egg whites, lemon juice, simple syrup. We do a little bit of lemon bitters, and then we do 2 ounces of this beautiful straight rye whiskey. It's Founder's Cask Strength. I think.
Yep.
France could talk about it more,
It's a
but.
smooth ambler 5-year rye.
Okay, I did not know what any of those words meant.
I think it, but it sounds good. All I know is that sometimes when I drink wine, I go like this. And I say, very fruit forward.
I like to say earthy half the time.
Earthy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it fruit or earthy?
Earthy notes.
Yeah.
Just notes.
Yeah. Random like positive, active, and sad notes. To it.
Yeah.
That's what you say every single time.
Yes.
Earthy notes.
Eventually, you'll get a third word, and then you can cycle through it.
And you mix and match. Yeah, not quite like this wasn't prompted by any question or anything, but a lot of people watching this probably have no idea who I am or what I do. I do Runeterra, obviously, we talked about this.
Mhm.
I don't do Flesh and Blood very much. In the future, I would like that to change.
Mhm.
I plan on doing a lot more Flesh and Blood. People who just watch tournaments or whatever probably still don't know who I am. I plan on that changing as well. I really like to start putting more time into Flesh and Blood. You guys will probably see me more
Yeah.
at events and stuff.
It's good.
But yeah, it's tough to balance 2 games, man.
Oh yeah, especially competitively.
Yeah.
Because like you have to put in time and reps for each, right? To feel like you're good or competing well in each.
Yeah. You kind of have to like fully drop one and fully pick up the other.
Yeah.
And then
Like bounce seasons.
exactly, yeah.
So actually, that was one of the questions I had, which was, what do you think that the content, or in terms of like, for viewership for Flesh and Blood, you mentioned before that Flesh and Blood can put more effort in, but you won't get as many viewers.
That is correct. Yes.
What do you think is lacking on? Do you think that's something that LSS can remedy, or how do you think that changes in the future?
I don't think LSS can remedy. I've talked to a couple of the content creators in Flesh and Blood, and the main problem is, no offense to the content creators in Flesh and Blood, you guys are
But you're
included.
not
Yeah.
content creators.
Yeah.
This is
We're
content.
not.
You're creating it.
Yeah, it's true.
It counts.
Yeah, you can't say we're not content creators when you literally like message me like, hey, I need a thumbnail.
Yeah, right? That's it, man.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. It's mostly shit. It's bad content, and I don't blame any of the content creators for it because it's 10 times as hard to make a good Flesh and Blood video than it would be for me to make a good Runeterra video.
Yeah.
Maybe 20 times as hard, right? Like, I can just log in, play some games of Runeterra, talk over it, make a joke once or twice, and boom, decent video.
Done. Yep.
Right? But like Flesh and Blood, it's not like that. Like a tabletop game between us two, where we just have a camera and a mic, you have to like mic up both people or the audio's off.
Yeah.
You're gonna have glare on the cards, right? It's hard to follow.
Yeah, look at how much we have to set up just to mimic a fraction.
Just for
of the
this,
power.
yeah, just a fraction of their power. The content is it's harder to make, and the content creators in Flesh and Blood, for the most part, are new content creators, right? So they're not bringing that like experience with them. It's really tough. You also like, I think people are starting to realize this in Flesh and Blood, but when you make content, you have to have a pitch in your mind, right? Like, unless you're just like gameplay number 87 or whatever, right? But like even then, if you want more people to click, there has to be a reason for them to click, right? And so like if you're making a video, you need to from the ground up be thinking about what is my hook? Like,
Okay.
why are people wanting to click my video?
What's your audience kind of
What's
thing,
my
right?
audience? Yeah, I do this every single day just for my gameplay videos, right? Like, what makes this gameplay video different from yesterday's gameplay video? Maybe I'm playing a unique card combination. Maybe I'm really high rank and I'm pushing for the next level, right? Like, maybe someone just hit rank 1 with this deck. You have to have this hook in mind. And I think a lot of Flesh and Blood content doesn't really have that. I see videos titled things like talking about Dorinthia, right? Like, some people get a little bit closer with like is Briar the best deck and things like that. But like, you know, it's
Tier lists.
tier list get clicks, man. Tier list get clicks. But like, I have a bunch of ideas for Flushing Blood content that I want to make that like I already know what the whole thing's going to be about, right? I know what the thumbnail's going to be. I know how I'm going to attract these people. I know exactly what my title's going to say. I know what keywords I'm going to use because I know if I'm scrolling down and I see these words and I see the thumbnail presented in this way, I'll go, oh, that's interesting.
Monkey neuron activation right there.
Exactly. Like, it is that though. And like Flesh and Blood creators, I think most of them just haven't gotten there yet, and the audience is tough to get to because there isn't much. There is no existing YouTube audience. It doesn't even exist on Twitch. You can't stream it on Twitch. You have to stream card games.
Yeah, you have
Right.
to stream card games.
There is no Flesh and Blood.
Yep.
It's card games.
Which, by the way, did you guys vote to get Flesh and Blood as a category on Twitch? Because there is a poll.
I didn't
I
see
did not. Yep. I did
Okay.
not see it.
I'll see if I can find it.
Link that to me.
But I voted for it like a couple months ago, and I have no idea what the progress
Link in the description below.
Hopefully.
on it. Hopefully.
Hopefully. I think Flesh and Blood content will get to that point. Will there ever be that big of an audience? I don't know. I mean, with the way that Flesh and Blood is, its key demographics is different than Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
Most Magic the Gathering's demographics is actually casual. Same with Legends of Runeterra. But for Flesh and Blood, it's competitive and new.
Yeah.
Those are your two demographics.
Yeah.
Nobody hits the new one.
Yeah.
And the competitive one is mostly just the best competitive content I've seen besides like Arsenal Pass, right? And our podcast and stuff, which I do really enjoy. It's like Ethnic Smoke talking over his
I
recordings,
do enjoy it.
which is
Yeah.
really good information, objectively not the most
It's
attractive
Yeah.
content, right?
I can fall asleep to it.
I watch all of his videos though,
Yeah.
right? But there's people aren't capitalizing, I feel like, on either one as hard as they could be, right? Like, I expect to see a lot of success with people deep diving into competitive, a la Arsenal Pass, right? Where they build up a following on YouTube or something like that, and then they talk about a deck. They talk about a deck, their decisions or whatever, and then they go, Patreon link down below, full sideboard guide, plus 5 matches with like commentary, right? I buy that stuff, right? Like, I sign up for that kind of stuff. And then there's the far other side of the spectrum, new player stuff. You want to talk about like what attracts people into Flesh and Blood. What got me into it was I thought it was so interesting about the class system. You play a class, and then you play a hero in a class. So I want to see stuff. It's like the full comprehensive like introduction to warrior, and then you talk about like what makes Dorinthia good, what makes Dorinthia bad, right? Like in an edited way, right?
Giving Alan ideas right now.
Don't steal my ideas. I'm making these. My thumbnails will be better than that. But that kind of stuff, right? Because you need to not be like, okay, let's talk about Dorinthia, and it's your playmat with all these cards out that no one knows what they do because they're new, and you just talking about the deck. You can't have that. That's like you can, but it's not. If I'm a new player, I click on that. What the fuck are these cards? I don't know what any of these do. But like, if you have like a very edited, quick, right, content where like the card you're talking about pop up. You have a quick, like when you're talking about, and then Oldhim, like likes to attack with these attacks, and then when it needs to get aggressive, it brings out Pummel, and Pummel pops up over here. But like on the main thing, you're showing like an attack, 2 blocks, and then you see Oldhim go boom, Pummel, right, and like you show that on the screen, it like you feel it, right, as like a new player. I'm getting really into this.
That's good. That's good. I actually like this because this is I'm not gonna steal the ideas, but this is actually really liking for like.
Feel free to. I want to see Flesh and Blood content get better. Like I want to see really good stuff out of it.
Yeah, most of my content, right, is just writing like random crap.
Yeah, and that's great though. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
But like, there's a one of the things I feel like it's lacking is that there's no like lifestyle content, rather where it's like you just consume it just because the idea you think it's like interesting or fun.
Mm-hmm.
Where you talk about like design stuff, you talk about cubes, you talk about other casual formats, you talk about like casual decks, you talk about like just like stuff that's around the game, not just about the competitive scene. And if Flesh and Blood wants to attract that sort of audience, the medium level players that are just like casually interested in the game, it needs more of those content creators where it's just like, hey, here's some nice sleeve reviews.
Be the
I should think of the professor.
Yeah, the professor.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I'm saying. Like, he's a perfect Magic mid-level content where you don't really go to for competitive stuff, but you still most competitive players are still subscribing because he provides information that they're interested in, and other players who are not as competitive are interested in as well.
If a new player said, I need a YouTube video to learn how to play Flesh and Blood, I still send them to the professor's video.
Yep.
That's a problem.
Yes.
Right? Like, Where the Flesh and Blood creators that I
Yeah.
can send them to, right? Like I can send them to Arsenal Pass, but like it's over their head.
It's way over there.
I definitely can't send them to Epic Smoke, right? Like
There's no like overlay to show the cards.
exactly, yeah.
He explains his plays very well, the reasoning behind them, but there's no visual aspect to it.
And so that's a lot of things that people are lacking, which is clarity, especially when it comes to tabletop, even or TTS or FAB Online.
Yeah.
You just don't know what the cards do, and there's a certain level of knowledge that is expected going in that just isn't there for a lot of players.
It feels like gatekeeping sometimes.
Kind of, yeah, but it's not really gatekeeping for like it's not like intentional gatekeeping, right?
Yeah,
It's
it's not intentional.
it's
Yeah,
like-
but
It still is.
yeah, but like from a new player's perspective, you know, they see all these videos and they're like, I have no idea what I'm getting into.
I have no clue what the jargon is. What does fatigue mean? Yeah, I still see that being asked online.
What's fatigue? Yeah.
Yeah.
I searched for content creators to watch, and the only one I found was the one Ukrainian channel, Fabrica,
Fabrica.
does an incredible job.
Yeah.
Showing all the things they say. I cast X card. I pitched for this, right? And I was like, oh, right? Like I get it. I see it. The card's over here. I can read it. I can pause it and go back. That was fantastic. The first Pro Quest, the one that I won on Viscerai, I didn't even know what my opponent's cards did.
Yeah.
Because like I couldn't I remember I was playing against Patrick who was playing Dash, and I was like, oh yeah, can I read that? And he's like, read what? And I was like, Dash. I was like, okay, yeah, and what are items? Can you give me an example? And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna bring this one out. And I was like, oh, interesting. And so I was like trying to figure out what all the cards did for all my opponents, like during the games, because I just like didn't know.
Was it the first time you met Patrick too?
It was the first time I met Patrick, yeah.
It's sort of a great friendship, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, I get along with him really well. But there was no introductory content for me to really get into besides watch the professor's video, try to figure out what all the cards did, and then jump to some of the more advanced content creators. Right? It's just like there's nothing. You were talking about the middle ground earlier, right? Between like starting the game and playing like callings and stuff, and like there's a gap
There's
in
a
content,
major gap.
and like someone's gonna fill it.
It's not gonna be whoever's
Not us.
Well,
Someone's got to fill it eventually.
Someone's gonna fill it eventually. Yeah.
I'll figure something out for written content, but yeah.
I mean, you have a lot of good like introductory guides on there,
Yeah,
especially for
sure.
upgrading like blitz decks.
So that's
That's a big one.
Yeah,
that's the content that gets me that actually like I still get comments on every now and then.
Yeah.
And I haven't done it in a while. Like I feel like I should at some point. Like go back to Define Drill Line.
You ever
Who
done
built
the
the decks?
uprising ones?
Sorry, this is the content that I steal off of Oliver, who refuses to write content for it because he's not confident. So Oliver, let's talk about why you stopped doing those videos.
What are you
Or
talking
those articles.
You never asked me to do anything.
Because he started asking me for thumbnails and such, so I started getting busy.
We wanted to do like videos that accompany the article, but then Yichin never gave me like an outline to do the video for. So
We want to do the videos to accompany that. Okay, yeah. That was like for my non-new player articles though. That's the thing. That's for like my design articles. But yeah, I think it's giving me some ideas that I want to do where like you mentioned the how to like comprehensive guide to like certain classes. That's very good written content to consume. And I know Wraith Times has a decent amount of that. I know for other new player content, the other channel that I recommend is Spike Feeders.
Okay, yeah.
But other than that, like I've been recommending those channels for like a year, and it hasn't like I don't see any new content creators coming in and filling that gap. So that's a big problem.
Yeah. It's tough, right? Like
Yeah.
making those videos is hard. Writing those articles is hard.
Yeah.
Like, because to me or you, like if I'm writing the article about upgrading the blitz deck, like the most important thing is not making it as competitive as possible.
Yeah.
Right. Like making it accessible, explaining why like these things are important, why you want these cards over these cards. Like these are more important to the player who's looking to get into it. And it can be hard to put yourself in that mind state. And then again, you have to present it in such a way that it's easily digestible to someone who doesn't know what any of these things are.
Yeah.
They just bought their first blitz deck after draft, right? Like,
Yeah.
And you have to explain not only what all these cards do, but why you're putting them in and like what purpose they fulfill. And like that content, that's hard to make. It's good content and it's like incredibly clickable content, right? It's just harder to make.
It's also just like it takes a lot more research too.
Mhm.
It takes a lot more words because you can't shortcut knowledge. So like this is the thing that's when I started writing meta breakdown articles, where I just like went over every hero in the meta and like how their place in it, and it was my articles hit the character limit for Reddit because it was just like I had to spend like 2 paragraphs on each hero, like list out like all the deck types and stuff.
Mhm.
And eventually I got to a point where I had to cut out some of my like small talk analysis stuff just to fit in all the heroes. So
What's the character?
40,000 characters.
It's a couple.
Bro.
Is that like average 5 letters a word if you're counting
You
the
got like
space?
multiple
maybe
faces
6
in that.
It's I put it into like a word counter. It was like 15 pages.
Then who proofreads it?
Not you.
No.
You read it once, and I say, "Oh, can you check it out again?" And you're like, "Okay," and you read like 2 sentences.
No, I don't. I read through it. I tell you which ones I don't like, but
You send it
you're not
to
gonna
me.
listen to me.
I should stop. He's busy.
Yeah.
I'll send it to like the general chat. I think next time.
You send it to
That's
Travis
the way it
sometimes.
Yeah, you can send it to me. I can
Yeah.
review it.
Yeah, I like panic about like the quality of my
Oh
wordiness.
my god.
Is it
Every
more
time.
so like grammar and like?
I
like
worry I
run-on
use too many
sentences?
words.
Okay.
I take a lot of time to get to a point.
Reddit, you're allowed to use too.
Yes.
I can help with that.
Every time he writes an RTN metagame article, he sends it to me and Travis, and I'm just like, okay, I don't like this, and it just
Dude, I make basic
And-
troubleshooting documents for the masses.
Oh, you're all about concise wording then.
Yeah, I can shorten wording if you need.
Okay.
I can help with that.
Briar good, old him good.
Briar good.
Old
Old
and
good.
also good, maybe better.
So talking about the naturals, man.
Yeah.
What are you guys excited for? Any spicy?
I'm just gonna play Wizard, bro.
Wizard, Iyslander, all day.
So I've been playing a lot of Oldhim because I think it's the best deck. Apparently, Australia didn't figure that out.
Yeah.
Or
But France and with Austria, no. Poland?
France also didn't have that many.
France had 4 Oldhims, I think,
Yeah.
and 2 of them were in the finals.
Yeah.
France had an Oldham final.
So it's not France that figured it out. It's these French people that figured it out.
Yeah.
And they took it to the event in spite of it, despite all the evidence and everybody talking about this like 2 weeks prior to it. Like everyone's like, "Oh, Oldham's gonna be so good now. Oldham's gonna be so good now." I see these national matches. I'm just like, "There's like 4 Oldhams here. What happened?"
Yeah, and like 30 Viscerate or something.
Yeah.
Surprise, Oldham's really good.
Yeah.
However, Oldham is actually one of my more favorite heroes to play, surprisingly. I just like to do things in response to my opponents doing things, and so having like Crown, the defense reaction, like that appeals to me. Not as much as Wizard appeals to me, because sometimes I kill you on your turn, and that's
That's
just
so satisfying. Yeah.
right? But yeah, I've been playing a lot of Oldhim. I was winning more with Oldhim than I was with Iyslander, and then I got more reps with Iyslander, and now I'm just winning more with Iyslander. Even in like the rough matchups, you find your spots. You start tracking Storm Striders when your opponent's 25 health because it's just such a massive tempo swing or whatever, and like you just kind of figure it out, and it just appeals to me so much more. And like I've been saying the whole time, I'm just gonna play the deck I like for once. So I'll be at Nationals, hopefully not 0-4 with Iyslander. Probably Iyslander. It could change.
Do we know the day one? Is it going to be draft first and then CC?
I think it's right.
I think it's draft or CC.
Okay, so 7 rounds, right? First. Yeah. Alright. Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with Iyslander.
Do you want to talk about individual card choices in Iyslander? And your thoughts on Ice and how Weatherbane? Ooh!
I had the very bad realization that is not a wizard card. Yeah.
Can't Storm Strider
So, yeah, can't Storm Striders it. Can't. Yeah. It feels bad. I think it's good if you're playing a very aggressive style Iyslander where you're just trying to take extra turns against your opponent.
That card picked up a lot of steam because Sigil of Permafrost was originally the anti-Guardian card, right? Because you use that, you stack up a bunch of Frostbites, and it kills your Guardian opponent with all the Frost Attacks. And then people started playing Heart of Ice and Oldhim, which became the main Guardian because it's just strictly better than Bravo in like almost every way, in my opinion. And so I saw a lot of Icelanders switching to Eisenhower Weatherbane. Specifically, the one I saw do it was his name's Howlingmind.
Yep.
On YouTube, I watched it. Yeah, very good video.
Yeah.
By the way, he made like an 1.5-hour video on Iyslander, like a full comprehensive guide.
What was his placing? It was at was it at Lille or was it at
Calling.
Okay.
F3. It did not make top.
Yeah. I think he top 16 or was it 32?
I think he top 16. He went in and he lost to like Prism Drone or something like that.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, what are you gonna do? But it was a very good video. Watched it a few times. But he was playing 3 copies of Ice and Weatherbane, and I was like, okay, there's something here I'm missing. I understand how it works. Cast Ice and Hell Weatherbane, you cast your 0 cost in case or whatever, right? And you give your opponent some Frostbites, and then you Arsenal Freezing Point or Ice Eternal, and then in response to them cracking the Frostbites, you can like do more. Or you double Weatherbane, hopefully freeze them out of turn. But the problem, like, it just sucked.
Yeah.
Because like in order for these situations to work, you need like a 5 card.
Yeah.
Right?
But like the turn kill, yeah, I understand it, but like if you draw it any time before the turn kill, it just feels so bad. And I feel like you already have good you as an Iyslander player, you should already have the knowledge and or skill to pitch back to your turn kill or know when to go for the turn kill.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need extra turn kills.
I agree. It was rough trying to play Weatherbane, especially because Oldham incredibly fast, right? They all figured out, oh, I need to be attacking you.
Mm-hmm.
It was like Dromai increasing popularity, so you see a lot more poppers and a lot more like enlightened strikes and pummels and things like that. And then against Iyslander, you need to be attacking. So like, you no longer hit your pitch stack at 25 health because Oldham beats your ass. Like, he comes after you, right? They're playing Sledge, they're hard icing or whatever. So Weatherbane just got like worse and worse. Well, it was about the same for me as it always was, which was bad, and I just wasn't able to build up these 5 card hands and say, yeah, take it. And then like do my thing right after I assembled all 3 Frost Hexes. So I went back to Sigils. I'm playing more potions now, E-Pods, to see if that works. Feeling better. I'm just finding, honestly, that I tempo out Oldham more. As they extend more to attack me, there are more opportunities.
Yeah.
Is what I'm finding.
Alright, so last drink.
Yeah, last cocktail. Did a dessert cocktail. This is an espresso martini. We do 2 ounces of vodka. We do a little bit of Mr. Black coffee liqueur.
Love it.
A little bit of simple syrup. You could use vanilla. Vanilla works really well, but we had simple, so it makes it easier. And then we did just a cold press espresso.
Alright.
Alright, sure. Cheers.
Last time, I've actually never had one of these
Cheers.
before.
I love this.
I'm really excited.
This is one of the drinks I usually end on a night because it's coffee. So let's just take a wake.
Ooh, that's good.
Sweeter than I expected.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Black coffee liqueur in particular is a bit sweet in comparison to some other coffee liqueurs.
How about that? What are we talking about? Iyslander?
Yeah,
Iyslander?
Yeah.
Iyslander hard / good? Question mark? That's my thoughts right now.
How do you feel about the difference in skill gap necessary to play certain heroes? I've noticed that a lot with a lot of heroes where players are more willing to just, especially the top level players, they're more willing to play a simple hero that is more consistent than getting the reps and learning a new hero inside out. Especially those guys, not to name anybody in particular to avoid offense, but they tend to like hop from hero to hero and they just tend to play what the best deck is. And they don't really, they do the testing, but they don't like do enough deep dive testing to really get the reps and really understand like what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about those heroes placed in the meta right now? Are they, do you think they'll ever be tier 0 or do you think their difficulty will keep them out?
I think they can be tier 0, but it will require a longer format. We saw something like that in Runeterra recently, where the best deck was Ari Kennen Go Hard, specifically this more controlling variant of Ari Kennen, but it was incredibly difficult to play. However, the deck was so powerful that it was still probably just the best deck in the format, even if you didn't have tons of reps on it. But like we would see people with like 55, 56% win rate average, which is like incredibly high.
Yeah.
But the best players in the world had 80+% win rates on this deck.
Which is insane.
This deck was quite possibly the highest, like one of the highest skill decks we've ever seen, and the most rewarding deck we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was something. It took me almost a month to like really get it. But once you did, it was all about like you had to really know the matchup inside and out. You had to know your deck inside and out. But like it made you basically unstoppable, right? And so yeah, that's totally possible, but it's hard. And for the average player, that'll never happen, right? Like it will be the best deck or whatever, but it won't be to where it's crushing everything. I don't think. Not tier 0, maybe tier 1.
Do you think that's desirable for a game to have a skill deck, a highly skilled deck be the best deck, but only if you're like a really, really good player?
It's desirable for me.
Yeah, of course.
But I think a lot of people fucking hate that, right? Like, I feel like we've seen that in a bunch of games, the fighting games, League of Legends, right? Like where certain heroes are so good if you're very good, and then they get nerfed and they get brought down, even though at like a normal player level they're not very good. But if you're playing against a skilled player on that hero, they're going to clown on you. And I like that. I want people to be rewarded for the dedication to a hero, for like really putting.
I like it too, because it's like, you know, you have a lower floor, right? But you have an incredibly high
But a really high
ceiling.
ceiling.
And you do see that with a couple of the lower tier heroes too, where you have the certain specialists that are just like do consistently well with them.
The Kano.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but like at the same time, they don't do well enough to like beat the meta deck.
Yeah.
They do well enough to place well and to be very, very good. Where people are like, wow, this guy's good, but not well enough to be like, wow, you can make money.
Yeah. I mean, the problem that you always run into, not always, but a lot of times run into with that kind of stuff is like the best Kano player in the world is like very good, right? And they're going to win a lot with Kano. But if you put that same practice into the best deck in the meta, they're gonna have much better results.
Yeah, much better time.
It's just like that's just how it is, right? Like the best Briar player is going to in the last meta, right? The pre-prism LL meta, like the best Briar player in the world is just going to do a lot better than the best Kano player. Yeah. No matter what. By a factor of probably a lot. So it's hard not to jump around, you know?
Yeah,
It is.
of course.
Although I've always been one who doesn't like to. I think most people will start off like that, right? They like to have their pet deck and stuff. But it's hard to resist just playing that. Were any of you like that where you're like, would not play the best deck?
Oh, and I'm still like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the boys versus men, right? Boys just stick to the deck.
Yeah. And then stick it out in the trenches and get a 52% win rate and they like it.
Yeah.
But like, when you, because at some point during Runeterra, I had to like stop doing that. I was like, I'm trying to be like professional with this. I need to show people like in the content what the deck does. And I have to bring 3 decks.
Yeah.
That was the big killer, right? Like I can't just have my pet deck. I often have to bring the best deck. And so I started playing the best deck and you're just blown away by like how easy this is.
Yes.
Like I just beat people because my deck's good. What? and then you're like, and then your skills on top of it, right? So it felt so nice sometimes to just be like playing the best deck. And you're just like, yeah, my deck just crushes you sometimes. Like, what are you gonna do about it? And then the rest of the time I can try to make up for it with my skill advantage, right?
Yeah. And that's what Oliver mentions about room play all the time, right?
Totally.
We're really good.
But that helps in the mirror. The skill is what puts you up at the top.
Yeah.
I didn't know you had a ban deck for Legendary Runeterra.
Yeah, you bring 3 decks, each person bans one, and then you have to win once with both of your decks.
Yeah.
So if you win with one of your decks, you don't get to play that anymore. You get to play the other deck.
It kind of sounds like that CC select format that I made
Yeah.
over the winter.
We were experimenting with different types of competitive formats, and one of the ones that Oliver proposed was like same thing where you like take.
You bring 3 decks, you ban 2 of them, and you do a best of 1.
Oh, wow.
The only issue with that is that
You need to build 3 decks.
Yeah,
you build 3 decks, but also it goes against the Living Legend format where you just ban the best deck outright every single time.
Mm-hmm. So the best deck stays forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it kind of goes. Yeah, that's all.
Hearthstone did something similar where
And did
you
you play Hearthstone?
I didn't play
competitively.
competitively.
Yeah.
Hearthstone was like a 5-deck conquest.
It was-
Yeah.
Was it 5? I thought it was 4 and then you banned one. I think it varied depending. I didn't play it super competitively, but yeah, I kind of like that because it really rewards player skill and not just like playing the best deck.
It does force you to. It makes a larger jump from casual to competitive.
Yes.
I will say, like there's a larger gap. There's more that you need to be doing to prepare for it. It's more daunting as a new player. It was for me going from just playing into my first season. I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Or like, what if they ban the only deck I know how to play? I'm screwed. So like that is something to take into account, but it makes it a more self-balancing format, which is really nice.
It's better for viewers too, where they get to see multiple decks instead of
Yeah, you can see more interesting stuff.
It also works for pet deck players because they bring the best deck and that deck gets banned all the time.
And then you bring pet deck. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. My strategy for almost every single tournament has bring the best 2 decks and then bring whatever I want. Bring something that kind of works with it that I really like. It's like, yeah, I usually have like a 2-deck shell that's like incredibly powerful. It's like, you gotta ban one of them.
Yep.
But like my actual best deck is like the 3rd deck or whatever, right?
Okay. So I guess we've all had our sips. Which drink do you like the most?
Espresso. This is a close second.
This was really good.
Yeah, this was really good. But I love coffee.
Like espresso?
So coffee is just
What do you, Caleb?
This is really good. This or the Seabreeze one?
The second one?
The second one.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. Yeah. That's a dangerous drink. I could drink a lot of that.
What do you, Oliver? whiskey sour.
Whiskey sour.
I told the whiskey sour was a little too heavy, but that's just because I don't like usually drink whiskey sour.
It had a Kentucky hug to it.
Yeah. I do want to say this is probably the best sippy drink, but actually like the first one, the lemon drop.
Oh, I forgot how good that one was. That was so good. Yeah.
All right, I guess we'll wrap it up here. Thanks for coming, Caleb.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, if you guys want, do you want to play some games afterwards?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. All right, well, thanks for coming, everyone. Make sure to like and subscribe and all that jazz.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. This round's on me.
This round's on Justin.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank
Cheers.
you.